The guys were saying, Frank, that you were right at the top when it came to midfielders in the Premier League generation. So how much pleasure do you get now on the other side of the fence, seeing young talents come through, and particularly at Chelsea? I guess I'm thinking of, in the last few weeks before the lockdown, the emergence of Billy Gilmour.
Yeah, I think we've obviously had a few young players come through this year, and that's given me great pleasure. They're great to work with. The young players are like sponges. They want to come in, they want to learn, and Billy probably gives me as much pleasure as anyone, because when you look at Billy, he can be sort of slight in terms of his size. He's young, he's quiet, he's polite, but when you train day to day through the season, and Billy was moved over to the first team building a while ago because he just had to. He just trained at such a level. If you have a possession in training or a game or a simple passing, we start talking about attitude there and doing the basics right and learning that as a young player. And so, like, in the modern day, it can get lost a little bit. Can you do the real basics right? And Billy does them day in, day out. So when it comes to, he probably, people think I threw him in against Liverpool towards the end there, as you said, but he probably deserves to play a little bit earlier in how he was training. And that was probably me being a bit conservative with him. And then the minute he got in there, he showed the replication of that, doing the passing drills right, being the brightest player in training. And he went and did it against Liverpool and went and did it against the best team in the country. So he now has set a benchmark. He's now got to try and, after this break, come back and go on to have the career that he started to show that he can have. I'm pretty sure he will, because his attitude and his family and his surroundings are really good, and he has the talent. But it was a real pleasure to see someone come in the right way, doing the real midfield basics. And that doesn't want to sound. I don't want to sound that he's not a talented player, because I think basics of receiving the ball, turning it round the corner, making all the right decisions in a game are not easy. The simple things are actually sometimes the hardest, and Billy has those.
Well, Roy Keane said, I think, Frank, that he looked like a world-class player, didn't he? He said he was sitting at home watching and had to put his cup of tea down to work out who it was that he was watching. Yeah,
I had to put my cup of tea down to hear Roy say something nice about it. I'm only joking. Roy Keane was a fantastic midfield player, and as we know, he probably won't give credit unless it's due. It certainly was due, and I think Billy should be. And he's right. I heard the statements that he made about Billy, and I think he's spot on, and Billy should be happy with that. And if he can go and follow the ideas of what someone like Roy Keane says when it comes to midfield play, he won't go far wrong.
Frank, you and I spoke after the Everton game when he was also man of the match, and the nicest possible way. When I watched the two games, it's obviously very early in his career, and we all sometimes maybe get a little bit carried away, but I felt watching him, it was almost like a throwback. He did so many good things. You touched on it when he plays it. What I mean by that in football terms is when the ball comes into you, your first thought is, can I get it into the front man and then get the other side of my midfielder? Can I every time get the ball and pass forward? Paul Scholes was a master at it. Obviously, Gary played, we both played against and Gary played with. And he seems to have a really bright football brain at such a young age. So he's obviously been taught really well up in Scotland and the academy at Chelsea as well.
Yeah, certainly. I think he's the academy lads, obviously, Jody and Joe on my staff now would have worked well before, and he came with the right attributes, obviously, and the right attitude, and they would have worked on that. A lot of that has to come from within, and as I say, Billy, consistency. He does it daily. There aren't many days when you don't see him show up and try and do those right things. And I agree. You touch on Paul Scholes there. Paul Scholes is obviously one of the greatest midfield players I've played against in the Premier League, and it was interesting to play against Scholes in the early parts of his career, where he was a goal getter and a rider in the box, and he would, just as you said, they would play it around the corner, but not even that. He then would arrive in the box, and then he would have the ability and the feet and the nous to score goals or make assists regularly. And then to see him change his career, and I would think it's probably easier. The cutthroat part of the pitch is probably at the top end, where it becomes much tighter and quicker. In midfield, it can be easy because you have more time in those deeper areas. But if you're a player that's not top quality like Scholesy, more time can sometimes be a problem for you. So he would always pick the right pass. He had incredible range. Again, if you did try and jump from midfield and get to him and get close to him, he'd just play it around the corner because he'd know you were coming. And Billy's shown early signs of that sort of ability. I'm not comparing him to Scholesy, no way at all. But in terms of those basics that you mentioned, then Billy certainly has them, and that's a great platform to build, hopefully, a fantastic career.
Frank, with the transfer embargo and now this obviously economic crisis, Chelsea, I think probably the most popular Chelsea team that I've seen for a number of years this season, with the young players that have come through, obviously Billy Gilmour and the other lads. Are there more talents like Billy Gilmour, that you can see coming through in the next 12 months now? Because obviously transfers might be sort of less than they were before. And can you name check any of them? Any lads that you think are ready to emerge?
Yeah, we've had another couple of young players. Tino Aneurin came on against Everton and played in a Carabao Cup earlier in the season. Ian Matson played some minutes. I don't want to leave out too many others because there are some other younger players that had the potential to come through. But we know the ones that are there. One of the first things we tried to do at Chelsea when we got the job at the start of the year was bring them in, get them training, and get an idea that if you train well enough in the academy, you're not forgotten. It will get flagged, and you will have the opportunity to come and train with us. So there are a few more that have shown themselves when they come and train with us. So I think we've got quite a lot of numbers that have played now this season, and even the Masons and the Tammies, etc., have played for their country as well. But they still all have so far to go, and it's a huge plus for the club, obviously, that we have had this batch that are coming through and are now showing it. But they also have got a long way to go. But they will be a huge part of how the club's move forward for sure.
Frank, it's been great to have you with us this morning. Thank you so much for your time. You've been very generous with it, been a really good sport as well. As we're all stuck at home, just watch those Easter eggs, won't you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I've had too many over the weekend. I need to go for a run, I think, later.
Get on the peloton, Franco.
That's it.
Keep safe and well, Frank, and hopefully we'll speak to you again very soon.
Great speaking to you. Keep
well,
well,
Frank.